it's Phil from Dr. Phil's Computer Help, and today we're going to take a look at the power options that you have on your computer. We're dealing with a Windows 10 machine here, but power options are available in a similar form for older versions of Windows as well, Windows 7 and 8. And it's just the way you get at them might be slightly different, so we'll cover that in this video. And the reason I want to talk about power options is because a lot of people leave the power options set at defaults when they get a new machine, and in my opinion the defaults are not necessarily optimal, especially for when your device is plugged in. So what I'd like to do is take a look at the power options in Windows 10 first, because it's a little easier to get to. So we're going to go and click on our Windows Start button, and then we're going to click the cog for settings. And once we're in settings, we can go into System. And in System, you see down the left side here, we have options. One of them is Power and Sleep, so we're going to choose that. And then it'll display the default or the current settings for your screen and for when the computer will go to sleep. And there's a few other settings here that we'll cover in a moment. So the first thing that you would notice is that on battery power, most laptops, when you get them, they come with a very short turn off the screen and sleep time. And depending on the machine that you've purchased, you may have a battery that these days might last you 10 hours. So it seems a little silly to have the machine turn off on you after just 10 minutes when you might have just gone to get a coffee or whatever. So what I would normally do on battery power is turn the screen off after about 10 minutes, and then I would have the machine go to sleep after about 30 minutes. And of course you can choose your own time frame, but I think that these are optimal, because if you're away for more than 30 minutes, typically, you've lost contact with what you were doing anyway. And when it's plugged in, I normally would keep a screen turning off after, say, 30 minutes, but I normally set it to never go to sleep when I have it plugged in. This way, when I come back to the machine, it's already ready to go, and I don't have to wait for anything. So that's the first suggestion that I would have for power, is to change those settings to something more appropriate for the battery life that your laptop has. So then we're going to go into additional power settings, and you'll see there's some more options that we can set, and I'll show you what I like to do. So when you go into the advanced options or more options settings, this is actually the same interface that you would see if you are in Windows 7 or Windows 8. So it gives you the same display. It's just the way you get there is different, and we might as well cover that now. So to get to this screen, I'll just close it for a moment, and we'll close this one. You need to go through Control Panel. And Control Panel is on my desktop. I've added it to my Start tiles, but if you don't have it there, and you probably don't, then you can just search for it. So you click on the search and you start typing Control Panel, and you'll see it comes up here, and then you could right click it and add it to your Start if you want to get at it easier in the future, because in Control Panel, as you may be aware, this is where a lot of the settings for the Windows environment are done and controlled from. So it's good to have a link to this, even though they've added the settings in Windows 10 under the cog, and that lets you get to most things as well. But if you're old school or you don't have Windows 10, then you need to be able to get a Control Panel. In earlier versions of Windows, the Control Panel was integrated into the Start menu, and is on Windows 7 is on the right side in the quick links that they have there. So anyhow, we're going to go into power options from here. So you see in my list, and you may have, by the way, in Control Panel, you may have it set like this when you first come into it, because this is the default setting for control panel if you've never been there or if you've never changed the view. And I really find this setting just to be mostly annoying because it doesn't let me get at things directly. So I normally click there and just turn on large icons, and that opens up all the icons that are available and puts them in a list in alphabetical order. So returning to power, we'll go here to our power options, click that, and you'll see that it's the same display that we just had from our cog settings. So once we're in here, we can go in here to change plan settings, and you see the same options here that that were available, and the settings that I set are there because it's the same settings that we're actually accessing on the system. So when we go back here though, you'll see there's some menu items on the left side. Choose what the power buttons do is where we're going to go next. And what you can see typically on a laptop and a desktop, it just doesn't have the battery column, usually on the desktop. But in here, usually everything gets set to sleep. And hibernate is usually not an option for shutting down. And so I like to make the change to hibernate most of the time, because I find that hibernation is a much better option than sleep. Sleep shuts the computer down mostly, but it does drain some power while on sleep. So if you put a computer to sleep and walk away for 3 weeks, when you come back, the battery will be dead and the computer will have shut off on you. If you hibernate the computer, what it does is it stores everything that is currently in memory to the hard drive and then shuts the computer completely off. And when you turn the computer back on later, the status that was stored to that disk is then reloaded, and you just continue where you left off. So if you had, a Word document open, or Outlook, or email programs, or websites, those will be back and on the desktop the way they were when you put the computer into hibernation. And you can leave it for 2 years and it would still be the same, because it doesn't drain any power when it does that, and it's stored to the hard drive. So even if the computer, the battery's removed or something's done to it, you won't lose that setting. The only time you'd lose that setting is if there's a problem with the hard drive, and then it can't load the status from the hard drive because it's corrupted in some way. But that doesn't happen very often. So the way you can change that is, I like to change the power button to hibernate, and I like to change closing the lid to hibernate. And I do this for both battery and for when on power. I leave the sleep button at sleep because I figure if you intend to sleep the computer, then you should have a way to do so, and it makes sense that it would be the sleep option. I also like to activate the hibernate on shutdown option. So you just click that button there that says change settings that are currently unavailable, and you check off hibernate, and then you save your changes. So now if I close the lid or press the power button for 1 second, it will put the computer into hibernate. And also, if we look here on my start menu and I go to my power options, I now have hibernate in the list. Currently, if you don't have hibernate available, it won't show up there. And when you hibernate, you'll find that most computers do so within 20 to 30 seconds, some much faster with solid state hard drives. But once it's done, the computer will completely shut off. And then you can just go about your business, whatever. When you come back and turn it on, the load time, especially for old mechanical hard drives, is faster because it's just got to load the system from RAM that it already had loaded. So it's not going through that startup process of launching all the drivers and going through all the checks. It just loads and then shows you the display. You usually have to log in because that's a security issue. But once you do log in, you'll get your desktop the way it was when you left it. So that's a few little options that I like to set, and definitely take a look because it'll make your life a little bit easier. And you go to get coffee and you come back and your computer's in sleep mode, and takes a bit of time to get back to it, of course. But also on some PCs, especially desktop PCs, when you come back from sleep, sometimes if you have any specialty cards or other external devices, not all devices are created equal and they don't all behave properly in low power modes like sleep, and you might find that things don't always work all that well after sleep. But in hibernate, it's different because the whole status of the machine is saved and then stored, and when you come back on, it's as if the power was off, but it loads the state that your computer was in. So you don't have those issues like you can have with sleep mode. So that's it for today. I just wanted to give you a quick tour of the power options. There are some more advanced options and things you can explore in there, but they're really beyond what you would need to do on a regular basis. And we just wanted to touch on the key points for your power options so that you're aware of them. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again soon. And if you haven't already done so, please check out my Patreon channel and consider subscribing to help create more videos.